You've changed, and you don't need anyone to confirm that. What used to tear you apart, it no longer has a place in you, no echoes, no weight. Before, just hearing that name, seeing a photo, remembering a phrase, was enough to make you sink. Feel bad all day, lose your rhythm, lose your appetite, lose your center. Now it's different. Now you see when you don't feel the same. You remember it, but you don't suffer. You might even get emotional, but you don't bleed anymore. This isn't coldness, it's clarity. You realized it. And it happened all of a sudden. No rituals, no dates. It just came. Suddenly you found yourself there, facing everything that used to hurt, and you realized, it doesn't break me anymore. It wasn't because you forgot. It was because you healed. It was because you understood that some absences deserve to remain absent. And not every void needs to be filled. Some things just need to be accepted. Today, you move forward, without guilt, without wanting to go back, without trying to make fit what's always slipped away. This is your greatest victory. It wasn't about beating someone else, it was about stopping losing yourself because of someone else. You no longer explain, you no longer justify, you no longer dramatize, you just move on. Quiet, whole, strong. Those who notice this in you, feel it. Those who don't need to know. You already know. And that's enough. You've changed. And if you haven't said that out loud yet, it's because you've learned to make silence a safe place. But deep down, you already know. You know you're not who you were when all of that happened. When you expected too much. When you accepted too little. When you insisted where there was only wear and tear. You knew you weren't okay, but you didn't know how to get out. You screamed inside, but smiled outside. You gave yourself as if it were an obligation, and you kept waiting for the bare minimum, as if you were asking for too much. Today that makes you feel disgusted, not at the person, not at the past, but at the naivety you had, at the illusion, at the disproportionate effort. You see this now, sometimes with anger, calmly at other times, but for sure always. Perception has turned into a sword. It cuts, separates, protects. You see everything with a different perspective. Drier, clearer, more uniquely yours. Before you would fragment easily. One gesture, an absence, a silence. Everything would dismantle you. Everything left you in doubt. Not anymore. Today you observe and you realize. If there's interest, you approach. If there isn't, you don't press. If they seek you, you respond. If not, you don't chase after them. It's not pride, it's dignity. You've learned that presence that needs to be requested was never true presence. You got tired of giving pretty names to people who only used you. Tired of justifying absence by saying, she's going through a tough time. Tired of playing the understanding one while they stripped you little by little. You've lost count of how many times you erased yourself, of how many times you swallowed your feelings so you wouldn't seem excessive, of how many times you blamed yourself for not being enough. Until the day came, you didn't cry, you didn't beg, you didn't chase after, you simply realized. You noticed that something inside you had changed. That emptiness still existed, but it no longer consumed you. That memory still lived in you, but it didn't hurt like it used to. What once was a wound has become a filter. You look differently, you feel differently, you choose differently, people notice and find it strange because you, who used to have an open heart, have turned into selective silence. You no longer explain, you don't persuade, you don't beg, you just breathe and move on. The change wasn't loud, it was solitary, it was painful. It was built with sleepless nights, internal crises, and a patience you didn't know you had. You cried without anyone seeing, swallowed bitterness that no one cared to hear, pretended everything was fine when all you wanted was to disappear. But this forged you, this pushed you deep inside yourself, and deep down, you found something no one ever gave you. Emotional strength. Not the kind of strength that conquers all, but the kind that accepts loss and still stands tall. You've learned to lose without losing yourself. You've realized that not everything you want is good for you, and that not every affection comes with truth. You looked in the mirror and saw someone hurt but alive, someone wounded, yet whole. You stopped waiting. You stopped sabotaging yourself. You stopped chasing after people who only knew how to run away from you. Today you walk, at your own pace, with your limits, with your peace. There are days that it hurts to remember. There are days you feel nothing at all, and that's perfectly fine, because it's part of the process. There are people who talk about evolution, but have never had to rebuild themselves with the shards left by others. You had to, and you did, even without support, even without certainty, even without strength at times. But you did it, one step at a time, one silence a day, one tear at a time. And today, you realize that you are here, breathing, feeling, choosing. And what once seemed impossible, moving on without answers, without revenge, without reconnection, has become reality. You learned that not every story needs an ending. Some just need to be interrupted, so you can continue. Because if it was meant to continue, it wouldn't hurt you so much. It wouldn't drain you like this. It wouldn't leave you so lonely even when surrounded. You've already blamed yourself too much. You've wanted to go back. You've thought the problem was you. But today, you know. It wasn't about being hard to love. It was about being in a place where there was never true love. Just projection, just attachment, just a vicious cycle disguised as a beautiful story. You've awakened. And you can't unsee what you've realized. There's no going back to being blind once you've opened your eyes. There's no pretending it didn't hurt. But there's also no way to keep living trapped in a pain that no longer belongs to you. You're no longer from there. You no longer fit in that past, in that version of yourself, in that role they gave you that you accepted out of fear of being alone. Today, solitude has become a place of strength. You don't beg for presence. You don't romanticize crumbs. You don't justify a lack of affection with selective empathy. Who wants, shows it. Who feels, cares. Who is, remains. And you move forward, with fewer people, with less noise, but with more truth. You recognize yourself now, and this is your greatest revolution. But all of this is still just the surface, because there's a part of you that still holds what no one has ever seen, a part that still needs to be expressed, a pain that still wants to be named. You still feel, even after everything, even after distancing yourself, understanding, partially healing. There are still days when nostalgia hits, and you hate feeling this way, because it seems wrong, it seems illogical, it seems unfair, but it's real. And you've already understood that pretending doesn't help. Yes, there's still a part of you that misses, not what was lived, but what you believed you were living. You miss what you thought you had, what you imagined existed between you, what you projected, what you hoped for. It's not the person you want back. It's the idea of love you created in that relationship. What you believed it could one day be, that hurts. Because it's a wound not left by absence, it was left by illusion. You realize this when everything is calm, when your phone isn't ringing, when nighttime arrives, when the body is present. But the mind insists on revisiting that place. You didn't want to go back, but you also don't know how to completely move on. It's like something is still pulling you, an invisible bond, an emotional thread, a piece of you that got left behind. And you try not to give in. You try to rationalize, you try to stay busy, distract yourself, move on. But nostalgia isn't logical. It doesn't respond to willpower. It doesn't respect your new cycle. It shows up, tests you, looks you in the eye, and asks, has it really ended? And that's when you need to be honest with yourself. No, maybe it hasn't ended inside you. But that doesn't mean you should go back. You can miss someone and still not give in. You can remember fondly and still keep your distance. You can feel and not be deceived again. This is emotional maturity. This is realizing that longing is not a sign of return. It's just a reflection of how significant that was. But significance doesn't mean permanence. Not anymore. You don't need to erase anything. You don't need to hate to protect yourself. You don't need to undervalue what you experienced. But you do need to choose what still makes sense to carry with you. And the truth? There are things you don't want to carry anymore. Guilt, for instance, for staying too long, for trying alone, for giving beyond your limits. Doubt, too, for not being enough, for not doing the right thing, for letting slip something that might still be resolved, and fear of never feeling that again, of never finding someone who looks at you the same way, of having wasted the right chance. You need to let that go because you've realized if it were right, it wouldn't leave you like this. If it were true, it wouldn't need to hurt you so much to continue. You know, even if it hurts, you know, and now what's left for you is to move on. With longing sometimes. With memories, yes, but with the certainty that going back would betray everything you've rebuilt within yourself. You are no longer the person who silently endured everything. You're no longer someone who accepted scraps out of fear of being alone. Today you know your worth, and even if you don't have everything you want yet, at least you're no longer where you don't deserve to be. This decision has a cost, loneliness on some days, silence on many others. But it also has a gain, respect for yourself. You chose yourself, and that carries weight. It brings pain, yes, but it also brings dignity. You recognized it, and there's no turning back. You've already changed, you've evolved, you've cut cycles, you've distanced yourself from those who belittled you, and even so, there you are again, experiencing the same type of pain, with a different face, but with the same feeling of giving more than you receive. You try to understand. You think that maybe there's still something unresolved, that perhaps you still need to heal more, that maybe you are doing something wrong. But that's not it. What's happening is that you still carry an unprocessed emotional code, a pattern that got stuck back then. The first time you felt rejected, the first time you learned that love comes with effort, with pain, with absence, with waiting. You notice this when you try to be light and end up feeling guilty for not giving enough of yourself. You try not to chase after, but you start to wonder if you're being too emotionally distant. You try to receive, but struggle to trust that someone really wants to give you something without expecting anything in return. It's as if your body learned to love from a place of scarcity, as if your emotional system has been programmed to believe that love only matters if it's difficult. It only exists if it comes with suffering. It's only real if it's intense and unstable. And you repeat. Without realizing, you repeat. The same dynamics, the same type of person, the same feeling of being only half seen. And this is not bad luck, it's not coincidence. It's a pattern, an emotional pattern, a vibrational pattern, an energetic pattern. You keep attracting what vibrates within you, even if you don't want to, even if you're already aware, even if you say, I deserve more. Because between what you believe rationally and what you feel emotionally, what matters is what you feel. And deep down, there's still a part of you that thinks you need to suffer to deserve love. This part needs to be touched, seen, honored, and finally set free. You need to go back to the exact moment when that belief was born, to the scene where someone made you feel small, inadequate, ignored, compared, invisible. It was there, in that instant, that your heart was shaped to fit into affections that don't serve you. And ever since then, you've been seeking the approval from others that you couldn't give yourself. But now you are seeing. Now you realize. And those who realize never go back to the same place. Healing begins when you accept that you no longer need to convince yourself of anything. You don't need to prove yourself anymore, nor earn love through sacrifice. You weren't born to beg for someone's presence. You weren't made to shrink just to fit into someone else's life. It's not your obligation to keep fixing others. You only need to recognize and let go. Stop carrying the weights that aren't yours. Stop trying to heal in others the pain that was born in you. The emptiness you feel, it's not because of someone's absence. It's the absence you created within yourself by trying to be accepted by people who never truly saw you. You distanced yourself from those who harmed you, but you still haven't reconnected with who you really are, and that's why the cycle seems endless. But it can end now, if you have the courage to face your mirror, to talk to your inner child, to ask honestly, at what moment did I learn that I needed to erase myself to be loved? This question changes everything. It hurts, it tears you apart, but it liberates you. And you are ready, even if you think you're not, even if you're still insecure, even if you still stumble. Because the most important thing that you've already done, you've realized, and realization is the first cut in the cycle. It's where the wheel stops spinning on autopilot. It's where you decide to break the pattern, even if it leaves you feeling ungrounded for a while. You will no longer accept less. You will no longer repeat the same story. You will no longer make space for those who only show up when it's convenient. If you've made it this far, it's because something in you has already changed. You just need to keep going, slowly, with pain if necessary, but with awareness. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear this truth. Someone who might be repeating pains that don't even belong to them anymore. This conversation isn't about the other person, it's about you, about noticing what still holds you back, about breaking the silent cycle that disguises itself as normal. You no longer need to fit into places that are filled only with absence. You don't need to insist on affections that can't sustain you anymore. You just need to be where you are seen, and most importantly, where you see yourself. If you've made it this far, comment, "I'm ready to stop repeating," or write, "This message was for me," if any part of this video turned you inside out. And now take a breath. Comment here about what touched you the most, what you've experienced, what you've realized. This space is yours too. Let's continue this conversation in the comments. Oh, and don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and share this video with anyone who needs to break free from the same patterns, because the next video is going to hurt even deeper, but it will heal deeper too. Tati.